You're watching Leafs Morning Take with host Nick Alberga and former NHLer Jay Rosehill. The show starts now.
Where do the Maple Leafs go from here? That's the big question to kick off the Monday edition of Leafs Morning Take presented by Bet365. It's Nick Alberga and Zack Phillips who's filling in for Jay Rosehill. How are you doing, Zack? How are you, buddy?
Tired. I'm tired. I love doing the post-game show, but I did 2.5 hours on Saturday, went to the bar with my buddies, left the bar at close, the lights were on, went to sleep at like 3 a.m., woke up, and then just did it again on Sunday. 3-hour show last night. I love doing it, but this is exhausting. This team is exhausting.
You're pretty much Andrew Tate because I'm seeing you everywhere. Like I wake up today, you're on Morning Cup of Hockey. You're going to be on the sheet today. You're on Leafs Morning Take. But you're definitely in the algorithm right now. It's crazy watching the game last night in the broadcast. Like I was pretty appalled at what was being said. Like I'm never super critical of like the analysis, but like I felt like I was getting like somebody was playing a joke on me because like the broadcasters yesterday are like, oh, there's a lot of learning lessons. Like it's like they were, in the Tavares mania there, I felt.
Nick, I never want to hear the fucking phrase learning lessons again. I'm sorry to do this. I'm 2 minutes into the show, but learning lessons is outrageous. I love Producer Vic. Producer Vic and I talk pretty much every day, and I think for the most part, we're usually on the same page with things. I joined Morning Cup of Hockey this morning, and Colby says that Vic was happy that they played better yesterday, and I was like, I'm going to kill Vic myself. I was happy that they played better, sure, relative, because it's like a more enjoyable watch, but they still stunk like shit, Nick. That's the problem, because they go into that game, they play better, they're out-shooting Dallas, they out-shoot them in the first period, they out-shoot them for the vast majority of that game, and then the second things start to go wrong, it's like, get me the fuck out of here. Process, no more. I don't give a shit about looking better, feeling better, none of it. You are losing games. You cannot afford to lose games anymore. You cannot afford to lose points in the standings. There is no more moral victories. There's no more learning lessons. You either win or you don't. It's as black and white as that with this team right now, because as far out as close as they are in the playoff race is more so what I'm trying to say. As close as they are equally far out because everybody around them is still picking up points. You and I have talked off air, on air. It's all the same conversation. Everybody gets points every night in the Eastern Conference. You cannot be squandering points to the Nashville fucking Predators. I am sorry. That game, pathetic. And then rolling over into Sunday, there was almost nothing they could have done that would have made me feel good about myself waking up this morning.
Yeah, I felt like I was getting punked again watching the broadcast last night, not yours, but the one on TV where we were talking about learning lessons and building upon games. Like I'm way past that because to your point, I think, missing in the conversation right now is how easy the slate was in the first half of the season. Like, let's not forget who they lost to. They've lost to Detroit multiple times. They've lost to Buffalo multiple times. They've now lost to Nashville. Like, they're going to play some really damn good teams here, and maybe they'll keep it close, and maybe they'll have good games. But, like, I'm at a point where it's got to be results-oriented. Like, I feel like they've lost way too many points in the first half where I can't walk away from a game and be like, well, they were better tonight. Like, I think it's hilarious that we're covering a professional hockey team and we're crediting the team for working hard and having effort and playing like a team. Like, isn't that the basis for being a pro athlete, Zach?
That's the bare minimum. That is the bare minimum you could do. Like, you should not be getting praised for working hard. Are you kidding me? You make $13 million, $11 million, $7 million. Pick your fucking guy. You are making millions to play a children's game. It's as simple as that. If you're not showing up every day, committed to working your ass off and listening to what's going on from the coaching staff, the GMs, whatever, your teammates, and willing to improve and go balls to the wall, you should not be there. And I'm not trying to say these guys shouldn't be NHL players, but the point is, you cannot be employing these people and being like, Good job, Timmy. Way to work hard tonight. Are you fucking kidding me? You should do that every day, every time you step on the ice. How many times, Nick, in his, I believe he's in year 10 as well, maybe year 11 for Connor McDavid. How many times have you ever heard, yeah, you know what, Connor McDavid gave a lot of effort tonight, so he should be applauded? Or Nathan McKinnon, or Leon Draisaitl, or Cale Makar. No, they are the elite of the elite because they show up every fucking day and they go balls to the wall, and the execution may not be there sometimes, but they are bringing it from an effort standpoint because that is bare minimum. That is bare minimum. It is pathetic that we are talking about effort. Well, dude, like, how can we be here at this point and hearing, like, Austin Matthews and Nylander and Tavares after these games being like, oh, the process was better tonight, you know? And then, was it? Was the process better? Berube doesn't think so. He's saying in his post games, Nick, he's like, yeah, you know, we're making a lot of mistakes. It needs to be better. And then you hear on the other guys, and they're like, yeah, process is better. The mentals are better. What do you mean? What?
Yeah.
Which one is it? I just am at a loss right now where it's just so disconnected all the way through the lineup.
I mean, it took 7 minutes, and the biggest question I had for you today is, like, are you moral victory guy? And profoundly, you are not moral victory guy, but you know
No.
This team is in one when the calm, cool, and chilled Willie Nylander, no longer calm, cooled, and chilled. Here's what he had to say after the game last night.
Have you ever been through steps like this in your career?
Like with losing, I don't know if I felt like this before, or I had a stretch like this. I'm not sure. I don't feel like I've had that in the NHL at least.
Thank you to TSN for that audio and video right there. But again, you know things have hit a fever pitch, Zach, when, again, the chillest guy in the team, no worries, we got this a month ago, to that is some concerning stuff right there. He's broken.
Yeah, that is a guy who you can normally look at in this marketplace and kind of get a pulse on. Even when things are going poorly, he's the guy who says it's okay, it doesn't matter. He's not going to go out there and give you some rah-rah speech, but he'll be the first guy to say, I'm not worried, we shouldn't be worried. That's a man who's worried. Whether it's about his own play, his own production, the team's play, I don't even know which one him or the other guys care about more at this point, but that's a guy who's acknowledging in the only way that he can that shit's hitting the fan right now. I think that there's a recognition of these guys are unable to or unwilling to play the style Berube wants to play, which is negatively impacting their own personal production, which is negatively impacting the team's overall production, and everybody knows it. And seeing those comments from William Nylander last night, I had to go watch the video because it seemed a little out of context just reading quotes. But
yeah,
the way in which he says it, his body language, his demeanor, like, I'm no expert in terms of reading that kind of stuff, but you could tell that that's a defeated guy in William Nylander, especially in his own personal drought right now. It just seems like everything is starting to impact all these guys, and even the coolest of the cool, it's getting to him right now, which is a concerning point for the Maple Leafs.
It's getting heavy, man. Like, this guy hasn't scored since November 26th, now an 11-game span. I think it's kind of fascinating, too. Like, two of the coldest players right now, goal-scoring-wise in the league, are two of the best in the league. And Nylander and Leon Draisaitl in Edmonton, man, he is missing open nets left and right on a nightly basis. It just shows you how streaky it can be. But, yeah, that struck me as a guy who's got zero confidence in himself or his team right now. And it just feels like a massive free fall. And I don't know about you, Zach. It just feels like we're waiting for a shoe to drop. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I do. And I don't know. I don't know what time they traditionally do it at, so you'd be able to tell me better because you've been around the league and doing this for a lot longer. But it gets like more concerning the more minutes pass into this morning. I know that they traveled, and I know that there's probably an element of wanting to meet face-to-face to do things. And I'm not talking about Treliving and Berube, because I know Treliving's on this road trip. Yeah. But I wouldn't be surprised if maybe more of the Leafs brass or MLSE or whatever wants to have the conversation as well, if we're getting to that point. But the more that this goes on, the more I start to feel like we are waiting for something to happen that they don't want to happen, and we're like demanding, and it just won't be there. That's a pretty shitty way for me to word what I'm trying to say, but basically it's just, I almost expected PR release, 9 a.m. Craig Berube has been relieved of his duties. It's 11:11 Eastern time, that is, and we haven't heard anything, which just kind of makes me feel like the tweet you put out yesterday and everything we've heard about these guys just becomes increasingly more true about the fact that they don't want to move off of Craig Berube, and that scares the fuck out of me, because what changes? Because it ain't the players, man. You can't trade every guy in that room.
No, you can't. You can't. And I was going to just add that we have Dave Pagnotta, the fourth period, coming on in about 20 minutes. We'll ask him the hard-hitting questions. I can tell you the Maple Leafs did stay overnight in Dallas last night, so I believe they're flying back right now. So that's maybe why. That's got to be an awkward flight. And I think any coach who's been around as long as Craig Berube, like, you know when you're cooked, and that's why I've asked various former and current coaches around the league, like, you know, what's your inkling, your feel? And a lot of them are saying, yeah, I think he's done. He's finished. Like, you know when it's time. And, you know, weirdly enough, a lot of these things happen after wins. I think the timing is important to bring up too. It's Christmas. Like, it's got to be pretty ruthless by Pelly and you know, Treliving to pull the trigger. But to answer what you've been talking about, I think the players have made this decision, unfortunately. Like, we're probably in the same boat where we don't think it's probably on the coach. You can't fire an entire team. You're at a point, Zach, where you have to do something to try and ignite this roster. And one of the bullets you do have is firing the coach, unfortunately.
Yeah. I also do think that I think that there's an element. I was trying to explain this on Morning Cup of Hockey this morning, and I think that there's an element here that is very frustrating because, you know, Doc Lawton's coming here all pissed off that we're talking about effort and performance from the star players and whatever. It's like, okay, I get people want to point blame at Berube, and I think that that's fair. I think my frustration is boiling over on some of these guys where there is an unwillingness to try to do what Berube wants to do. I get it not working and Berube coming in here and it just not working, but you can very clearly see these guys quitting on him and his style of play. And like, that is frustrating to me. But then you look at Berube. I will say, Nick, there's a lot that he is probably doing, or at least his assistants are doing, if we want to pass blame off to them, that probably doesn't benefit the guys that you have in that room and their play styles. I don't have any problems with the way they want to play defensively, or at least did last year, what they want to do in terms of like the locking things down and being suffocating and trying to tighten up the neutral zone. I thought they did really good things last year. I think they struggle in transition. I think they struggle breaking the puck out up the ice. Part of that is probably now finger pointing at Brad Treliving. You know, is Philippe Myers an NHL player? Nope. I'm not even going to say I don't think so. He's not. He's not an NHL player. So you're putting him on the ice. You're also looking at Simone Benoit, who's struggling right now. Morgan Rielly struggling. Like, it's a tough situation all the way around. Injuries don't help that, but you're just looking at a clusterfuck of shit. Like you are. Brad Treliving has defensemen who can't. Well, he's got defensemen who can't break the puck out up the ice. Then you've got guys who play a possession style of hockey, in particularly Austin Matthews, William Nylander. I don't know if you want to throw JT in there as a guy who can do that as well, but he's not a guy who's going to necessarily run and gun on a dump and chase style of hockey and be able to retrieve pucks. He just doesn't have the boots for it, so it doesn't work for those guys. Then you brought in guys that you thought were going to help play Berube's style, and yet they're like not fast enough to be able to do that. They're looking at slow bodies. Then you also have mixed in here Easton Cowan and Max Domi, Matthias Michelli, you know, throw those kinds of guys into the mix, and it's like Berube doesn't like Michelli. He's sitting Easton Cowan last night, which I thought was just a fucking insane decision on its own. Max Domi is being force-fed into the first line. Like, there's bad decisions that are happening by the coach. There's players here who don't fit one way or the other, and then you also just have guys who have quit. Like, everything the whole way through is a mess. But the only thing that you really can do is change the coaching staff here to get yourselves into a different position. And that's one thing I look at as kind of a positive. and I think it's because it gives you clarity and not because it turns around the season necessarily, is if you bring in a new guy and he decides we're going to play more to Matthews' style, more to Nylander's style, you know what answer I think you get, Nick? What is happening with Austin Matthews? Is this really a full-blown coaching issue, or is something bigger happening here? Because if you bring in a guy and he sits down and he says, Austin, what do you want to do? And he says, this is how I want to play, and they play more to that style, and he's still this kind of player, I think you pretty much are getting your answer that it's an Austin Matthews issue and not a Berube issue, where I'll put some blame to him, but I just think new guys can kind of give you some more clarity on the players that you have in the room, which is a long-winded way of saying shit's fucked right now.
Okay, thanks for watching. Take care, everybody. Have a great day. Now, our Super Chat charity partner is Sick Kids. Want to make sure that your question or comment gets on the show, hit us up with a Super Chat. Proceeds from our Super Chat will go to Sick Kids, ranked the #1 research-intensive children's hospital in Canada and third in the world. So again, we got Dave Pagnotta, the fourth period NHL insider, dropping by in about 15 minutes here at the Leafs Nation 401. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Leafs Morning Take wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. Crave the Stats, a presentation of Uber Eats. Every time the Leafs play at home, you can get these exclusive deals only on Uber Eats. Firehouse Subs, Bogo Brisket Hatcher, Kibo Sushi, Bogo California Roll, Shelby Shawarma, Bogo Traditional Wrap. That's right, buy one, get one before, during, and after the game. Uber Eats is assisting every fan's hockey experience all season long. I'll be honest, Zach, the big thing that got me over the weekend, I thought they were better against Dallas, whatever, they still lost. Mm-hmm. But I think there was a lack of response after Thursday's game that concerned me, where you go to Nashville, Music City, and that's an inferior opponent. I get it. They were playing better. But it's not like the Leafs came out and outshot them like 15-1 in the first 7-8 minutes of that game. Like, they had 7 shots on goal in the first half of that hockey game.
Yeah, but Nick, this is a problem that's stretched back to Tuesday against Chicago. Mm-hmm. Like, we looked at the Edmonton game. It was a shit game. They dropped the ball in that one. They got embarrassed on home ice. And it's like, okay, I'm not trying to say I'm not upset by it, whatever, but I think you can look at that game, you can look at that and be like, it happens, you know? It's not every night you have your A game. McDavid and Draisaitl come in here, they take over, and they say, fuck you, and they just roll the Maple Leafs. But then you're expecting a response on Tuesday, because you talk about inferior opponents. The Chicago Blackhawks were without Connor Bedard, Lev Shinov. It's not the best team in the world anyways. Why can't you come out and assert dominance against the Chicago Blackhawks? And for about 55 minutes of the game, they got rolled. And then all of a sudden they said, oh, we'll turn it around here. You get a floater from OEL, and then they get a little bit of life. And it's almost like they were fighting back against the fans more than it was against the Blackhawks, but they come back and win that one. That wasn't a response. Like, I don't think that was a, hand to ear, like,
the infamous
calling them out. And I don't think that's a situation where you're responding or having that response because you waited way too long. You should have had it from opening puck drop. And then, just to kind of wrap up the point, they didn't do it on Thursday against Washington. They get rolled. They don't do it on Saturday against Nashville. It takes a long time for them to even get involved in that game. Aside from the opening 5 where you scored right away and had a couple good shifts, they just fell off a cliff after that and then kind of had moments here and there. Again, Nashville, not a very good team, so if you have moments, you could probably take advantage of them. But then Evangelista scores, and they say, check, please, we're out. And then you go to Sunday night, last night against Dallas. They played well, and you can give them credit there, but then the second things started going poorly in the third period. Again, thanks for having us. We're out of here. It's just like every game we're looking for a response, and they don't have it. Every game.
And it's weird to me, like, there seems to be a bit of a denial in the market, too. Like, again, not to get back to the broadcast thoughts yesterday, but it's like, why are we handling this team with, like, kid gloves, where it's like, you know what? Like, it's fine. It's great. Like, everything's going to be okay. No, the sky is falling, okay? And I'm Mr. Optimistic Positivity to start the year. I believe in Berube and Treliving, and I believe in this roster. This team's cooked. They're done. Like, they're not making the playoffs. I would just start there. Like, I think they're in serious trouble. I think I agree with all your points. And I I was very, very bewildered watching this weekend where it's like even people on social media, it's like, well, they played better. But like, what's your barometer for playing better? You're still going to lose. And like, it's really, really ugly right now. I can't remember a time where I felt this down about this team. Like, is this the worst this Leafs team's looked in maybe since 15, 16?
This iteration, yes. Rosie said it after the game on Thursday. This is a new low point. That was before they ended up losing against Nashville and then Dallas. So imagine how Jay Rosehill is feeling waking up this morning after two more losses following that. Probably not great. This is a full-blown new low point for these guys. Checked out, unengaged, not willing to buy into Berube's style, Berube quitting on them. Ask those guys. That's an I give up on them moment. Treliving in the press box, head in his hands. This is the worst that it's been, and I think it's time for some type of reset here in the market, which I think is honestly, I don't know if you agree with this. I think that it's okay. It's tough to accept because Matthews and Nylander are here, but I don't mind a reset on the group. And I think kind of getting punched in the face and making you wake up and realize you have to do it isn't the worst thing in the world. But they have to acknowledge that it's time for a reset and not try to just slap Band-Aids on things to fix things to try to get themselves into the playoffs.
But everybody's got a no trade clause. That's my counter to that. And but the GM is probably trying to save his job. So there's a couple butts in the way.
That's the other
Leaf
problem.
Station 401. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. And support is sick. It's got a couple super chats to get to. Willie on crack. Thank you so much for your super chat. Even better handle, by the way. This team is straight ass, and I understand why. But what I don't understand is why Scott Lawton hasn't been given a chance on the second line. Shake my head. JRock12, thank you for your super chat. What if Berube is fired but Savard stays? Ha ha ha.
J-Rock is a friend of the show. He watches all across Daily Faceoff and everything. He's here every day. I know that he's doing that just to fuck with you and I. And part of me doesn't want to take the bait, but part of me feels sick to my stomach hearing that. Like, this is not a personal shot at Marc Savard. I don't know him off the ice. I don't know him outside of what he does as a coach. That's it. But if that fucking guy is continued to be employed by the Toronto Maple Leafs, Nick, I think we ought to go and start like Panthers Nation, Bolts Nation.
I'd be down.
We got to get out of here. Let's go live on the water. Let's go golf every day. I don't even know if you golf, but like I will personally spend the time to teach you and Vic golf so that we can go every day and go and just get out there and just enjoy the sun and golf carts and flip-flops, and let's just go chill. Like, let's talk to John Cooper and just have a good time, because if Marc Savard remains on this bench and Craig Berube is gone, there is morons throughout MLSE that reach beyond the Maple Leafs organization. Let's put it that way.
So translation, you're not a big fan of the new power play units, but you know what gives me severe abdominal pain? 12 for 90. 12 for 90 on the power play. Like, we're talking about this being one of the worst power plays in modern day NHL history, with Nylander, with Tavares, with Nyes, with Matthews. It's pretty amazing stuff, man. Like, they had their opportunities against Dallas specifically to bury that team on the power play, and I don't know what they're trying to do with the new configuration. I guess pass the puck around. Like, the broadcast again was giving credit to Dallas's PK, where it's like I just felt like they were just passing the puck around, Zach.
I will say they moved better last night. Like, they moved with more intensity. Again, what am I doing? Like, is this a moral victory show? But if we're gonna talk about the power play,
here's my fantasy
I will
hockey
say,
ring. I got a ring. Fantasy hockey champion. You're welcome. Anyways, go ahead.
I do agree that they were better on the power play yesterday. They didn't score, so
you're a moral victory guy now. Look at you.
No, I'm saying, like, they didn't score, so who the fuck cares? Like, they moved the puck better. They moved with some more urgency, but then again, like, zone entries, a struggle. How often are we watching them have to regroup and then spending 10 minutes fucking circling in the defensive zone, and then in the neutral zone, and then in the defensive zone again, and then getting into the offensive zone, and then it gets broken up. But, like, when they did get set up finally, it looked a little bit better, so I'll give them that. Again, they didn't score. So,
well, the concept was unique too, because like I get it, and we've had this conversation for 10 years. Like, do you split out the big boys in the power play? And they did, but these guys are so brain dead. PP1 or PP2, whatever the way you want to call them, are taking a minute and a half shifts. So ultimately, one power play, they had Nylander and Tavares hit the ice for about 26 seconds. Like, it just there's no purpose when they get out there when they got a man advantage. Like, it makes a lot of sense math wise. It's 2-for-1, right? Like just get the puck. I don't know. It's pretty crazy stuff, and they don't seem to have answers. And I got to credit Luke Fox as well for the staggering numbers on this 3-game skid, all on the road from the big guys. The 5 highest paid forwards on this road trip: Matthews -7, 0 points; Nylander -7, 0 points; Nyes -5, 0 points; Tavares -5, 1 goal, 0 assists; Domi -1, no points, and 1 healthy scratch. Your thoughts, Zach?
My thoughts are this is a problem that has carried over from playoffs every single year and is now just being elevated to the highest level here in the regular season. I know that there's a lot more to go on with this, but I don't want to hear from this market bottom 6, bottom 6, bottom 6. Yeah, there could be better things done in your bottom 6. There could have been better things done in your bottom 6. But when your big boys aren't going, your team is fucked. Like, you live and die with your big boys. And you do that if you're Colorado. You do that if you're Dallas. You do that if you're Edmonton. You do that if you're... I don't know. Can you say big boys in Carolina? They don't have like the same star power. But like if Aho and those guys are not Minnesota, thank you for throwing that out there. If those guys aren't going, your team is screwed. Like, you can survive a couple of games in a regular season especially, but you need your big boys to be your best players. Tampa, Florida, those guys, there's good examples as well. You need them to be the best players. And right now, the Maple Leafs' best players are not playing like their best players. And unfortunately, that puts way too much pressure on Nick Robertson to score goals. Dakota Joshua, Nick Waugh, Bobby McMahon. They're just not the kind of guys who do that. The big boys have to find a way to get going. That's the one thing I just keep looking back at with a coaching change where it's like, if a new coach comes in here, do they get going? And if they do, then yeah, I will be the first person to come on Leafs Nation After Dark or join you on Morning Take and say, yes, the coach was a significant problem here. I will give it that credit. But if a guy comes in and it's marginally better or not at all, again, you got to look at the players. And I know people have been having a pissy pants fit when watching After Dark or a Morning Take some of the days, being like, this is a character attack. You're attacking character. You can't be doing that. Shut the fuck up. If they come out and they do this again, this is a character problem. Playoffs, regular season, new coach, same coach, doesn't matter. If they approach it the same way, character of these guys that will be looked at and attacked. Not by me necessarily, but by people around here.
Yeah, no, that's understandable too. That's fair, and it's a proper way, I think, to handle things. At the Leafs Nation 401, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're about 5 minutes or so away here from Dave Pagnotta, the fourth period, dropping by Leafs Morning Take. And undoubtedly, we will ask this question about Craig Berube, but in the chat, credit to producer Vic for putting this up. Should the Leafs fire Craig Berube? In the poll in the chat right now, 45% say yes, 55% say no. But that seems to be consensus, man, that it's not on the coach. But I think what you and I are driving at is there's got to be something done to try and ignite this roster, right?
Yeah, if not Berube, then who? If not Berube, then who? Because everybody wants to say trade Austin Matthews. You got to look at the no trade, and no. Exactly. Yeah. And you're selling at the lowest point possible on some of these guys. Like, you cannot get in on Austin Matthews and see his 69-goal season. Like, you're basically, you remember the GameStop shit that happened when it got to the top and everyone was like, buy, and then it dipped off and then everyone's losing money and it's like, well, now it's time to sell. Like, that's what you were doing with Austin Matthews. You were getting a value here on Austin Matthews that is so much lower than what you could have been getting if you're just deciding, I'm going to get the fuck out on this. And I'm not willing to give up on Austin Matthews here quite yet. I personally am willing to give him the out of injury. I'm personally willing to give him an out of system isn't going to fit him the best. But you also have to look at the guy and look at accountability-wise. But you just can't trade the piece. Morgan Riley, no move, no trade. William Nylander, no moves, no trade. Like, all these guys are just loaded with that. So your options then become, wow, let's trade Nick Waugh and Bobby McMahon. What does that do for your lineup big picture? Because you can change the way the lineup looks. Calle Jarnkrok, get out of here. Sure, that you can change those pieces, but like, you're not going and getting some piece back for these guys. And I'm sure Dave, who will join us in a moment here, will be able to tell us better than I can. And I'm just talking out of my ass on it, but they're not bringing you pieces back that put you over the top. It's change for the sake of change, more or less, right? So what are you doing? To me, it comes down to Craig Berube. Something has to change. And I just said change for the sake of change, but something has to change. To me, the easiest, the most obvious one is Craig Berube, and I don't know why you wouldn't look to that.
The other thing I look at is like accountability, and that was sort of one of the big buzzwords that was used when Craig Berube was brought in. But then I look over the weekend, to your point earlier on, like why is a youngster in Easton Cowan used as, I don't know if you want to call him the scapegoat for losing, but like he's the guy you decide to healthy scratch? Like, it didn't make much sense to me, Zach.
No, and I'm looking at a team that needs speed. They need skill. They need guys who play with like tenaciousness and tenacity, whatever the word you want to use to describe it. But they need guys who play that way. They need guys who battle, guys who are willing to get in the mix, who aren't afraid. And is Easton Cowan a guy who's putting you over the top with his play right now? No, but Easton Cowan is willing to do those things you are missing or you are lacking. You know, this is a slow team. This is an old team. This is a team that is struggling to score goals. Well, Easton Cowan is fast. Easton Cowan is young. Easton Cowan buys in to the forecheck, to a physical brand. He doesn't shy away from anything. And I just think that he's a guy who can provide you some type of offensive outlook. I think he's a guy who can contribute offensively. His point totals right now are not blowing you away, but he's a guy who can get things done. And your first look is Easton Cowan out of the lineup. Like, again, that's a bad decision by Craig Berube in my belief. Like, I think he needs to be in here. But no, take him out, make it slower. There's just confusing things happening all the way around that I just don't even know who deserves more blame in some situations right now. I'm almost at a loss. Like, I found a way to talk more than probably anybody in Leafs Nation over like the last week.
Probably.
And yet somehow I can't find a way to like put together words to accurately describe what I think and feel.
Never enough words for Zack Phillips, that's for sure. At the Leafs Nation 401, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. But again, getting to your point, like, I think it would be so interesting if one night we go to the skate prior to the game and it's like, oh, Matthews is not out there, or Nylander's not out there, or Tavares. Like, they choose to healthy scratch a big boy. Do we think that's ever coming? Probably not, right?
Not under Berube. No. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that the time for that has come and gone, unless the Nylander-Washington game was like a quiet scratching, which, based on the way he played after, I don't think so. He did look sick or lacking energy. So
something was going on.
I'll give him that, I guess. I don't know. I don't think that comes, though, to answer your question. I don't think we see that under this coach. Even under a new coach, I can't imagine that would come unless it's John Tortorella, which I don't think they'll hire.
That would be a lot of fun. Torts in Toronto would last about 2 weeks. At the Leafs Nation 401, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. Let's bring in today's guest, none other than the fourth period's David Pagnotta. What's going on, Dave? How are you, bud?
What's up, boys? You guys doing all right?
We're going to try to reconnect with you, Dave. Your internet's a bit wonky here, so we'll try to reconnect with Dave. He came in guns a-blazing there, and I love that. So I love that. We were talking behind the scenes. Did we try it out? Did we do this? We do it?
Yeah. we
like,
get him on right away. I'm like, we're going to get some answers here. We're going to ask this guy the important questions. What is Austin Matthews getting in return? Have they called John Tortorella? And Dave's internet is being cut out. You know what it was? It was MLSE, it's Rogers, it's Bell, whatever the fucking internet he's on. They saw the show this morning. They saw the heat that the Maple Leafs are taking. They knew Dave might provide some clarity, and they cut internet ties at his house.
Vicus Patronus writes in, is this the AI version of him? Yeah, I think so. It's robot mode for Dave Pagnotta. You know what the irony of all this, too, is? Like, the team that's coming into town for the matinee affair, please note that, coming up tomorrow, Tuesday afternoon, is that it's the Pittsburgh Penguins, and the history with, like, Kyle Dubas, and the fact that Tree comes in, brings in his own guy, and it ultimately could be, like, the final game if it doesn't happen already for Craig Berube, and it's the Pittsburgh Penguins who have been really, really struggling. Like, I don't know if you're going to pin your decision on one game. Like, I think if you've made a decision, you've made it by now, regardless of the result of that game. But I think that's an interesting wrinkle to all this. It's Pittsburgh in town tomorrow.
That is the most sickening way to go out to, because they're gonna lose. Like, they're gonna lose. So then I'm gonna have to go after that game to hang out with my girlfriend's nieces and nephews, and I'll be miserable after dark and spending 2 hours talking about losing to Kyle Dubas. And then I'm going to go to Christmas, and my dad's going to talk to me about how they lost to that loser in Pittsburgh. And like, it's just going to be the biggest kick in the junk. And you know what's going to happen? Craig Berube is not going to be fired, because we'll ask Dave about this, but this is what I was just sent by Vic. This was talked about on First Up this morning by Darren Dreger, and the quote is, maybe there is a call from above that says change has to happen, but I don't get the sense this morning that it's happening today, which would imply that Craig Berube will still be the man behind the bench against the Pittsburgh Penguins tomorrow. Maybe that's a holiday thing. Maybe that's the team's belief in him. But regardless, I mean, again, not trying to advocate for a man to lose his job, but I don't get what changes between now and the game on Tuesday for them to still have belief in Berube and his staff behind the bench for the Maple Leafs. That's just what I don't get. Like, if there's nothing that changes this, then why hang on?
Yeah, no, I get it. It's consistent, by the way, with what I've been hearing the last couple of days. They don't want to do this. Like, Treliving doesn't want to fire the coach. But again, I think the players have made the decision for them. And ultimately, I think they'll come to the conclusion they have to make the decision. Like, I don't put any stock in Berube potentially coaching this game against Pittsburgh. Who knows? For all we know, they could be setting up the logistics for the next head coach. Usually how it works. I think timing is a factor.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah. Like, timing is a factor too. It's no. Timing's a factor. It's Christmas season. The schedule's really busy too. Like, that's important to stress. So if a new guy comes in, can't even practice with the team, I get that aspect. But nobody sane enough to watch this team throughout this season could tell me it's not time for something different. Like, and that's not really an indictment on Craig Berube. I think we've seen the lack of response enough times to suggest the message is not getting through anymore. So we're just prolonging the inevitable. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. Nick, I wonder if they've been calling a guy who's saying, oh, my family's in town for Christmas this week, and maybe now is not the best time.
Did he give you that answer too?
No, but I know that you got that answer.
I did. You think he's lying to me? Like, fuck off.
Don't call me anymore. No, but the other thing that I will say with the coaching thing is there are other teams who are probably nearing an endpoint with their coach. Maybe the LA Kings. I'm just speculating.
That's my counter here, Zach. If you're the Maple Leafs, can you afford to wait too long? Like, and
that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I have no clue how they feel about Pete DeBoer, but Winnipeg and LA, two specific teams I look at that could jump before you, right?
Yeah, like, do you want to be... I look at it like this. Let's say you wait past Tuesday, and everyone says, let's wait past the holidays, okay? I don't know, maybe you want to consider Boxing Day the final like turning the page and going beyond the holidays, where now you're moved into a new season and the holidays are behind us. Christmas Eve, Christmas, they've been spent with your families. It's time to get back to hockey. Let's say you wake up on Friday morning and the LA Kings and the Winnipeg Jets have both decided they're going to fire their coaches, okay? And then let's say the Toronto Maple Leafs decide, fuck, whoa, we got to fire our coach here too. And now you're looking at 3 teams. And let's just use Pete DeBoer as an example. All 3 teams call Pete DeBoer on Friday morning. Which of the 3 teams is the least appealing in your opinion? Because for me, it's
Toronto.
an easy answer. It's
Toronto. They're head of the
Winnipeg, weather-wise,
closer.
not good, but
Yeah.
like he's a closer. Yes, both of those teams right now look more appealing how their rosters are constructed than what the Toronto Maple Leafs have going on.
I agree. This is a shit show. Let's bring in Dave Pagnotta. Hopefully the internet's not a shit show anymore. What's going on, Dave? Can you hear us loud and clear here?
I got you. You guys got me? We good?
There we go.
Bravo,
There we
bravo.
go.
I love it.
Yeah. All right.
Who knows when that shit's going to cut out? So I'm going to jump right into this. Is a coaching change imminent in Toronto?
No. Look, everything that I've been told is that's the last thing the Tree wants to do right now. He does not want to fire Craig Berube. Now, this shit show that you guys are talking about keeps going. He may not have a choice, but that's not what he wants to do. And I think he understands that there are roster deficiencies in this lineup that are effectively plaguing this team. The effort that we've seen from some guys has been rough. Realistically, they only have 4 top 6 forwards, so that's a factor as well. And again, the guys that are supposed to be, Willie Nylander hasn't scored in 11 games. He's got 5 points in that span. He was top 5 in scoring for the first 2 months of the season, top 10. And what happened? Austin Matthews, I still give a little bit of benefit of the doubt. You guys were touching on this earlier. Like, I think injury, I don't think he's 100%. So I think that's factoring in on his shot and just his overall performance. But overall, you'd still expect more out of him. You expect more out of JT right now, who was great in those first couple of months too. And you expect a lot more out of Morgan Riley. And something at some point is going to have to give here. They keep losing. Maybe it is, Berube that falls on the axe or sword or whatever it is. But everyone complained and wanting a new voice when Sheldon Keefe was around. And now everyone's complaining that maybe it's got to be the coach again. I think you got to take a harder look at the core guys versus the coach.
I'm with you, Dave. I think you got to take a look at the guys on the ice as well. And I think part of that goes to the guys that Treliving put out there. But
yep.
I guess, is this effectively MLSE, Keith Pelly, Brad Treliving saying, no, Berube's our guy, you need to be better? Because, I mean, just to kind of add to it, I look at the comments that everybody has made, from Matthews to Tavares to Berube after the games. Like, it is disconnected in there. There is different messaging coming from anybody that you ask. Right. Even OEL steps up. Nick tweeted out the clip. Like, he steps up. He's the man in the room who says things aren't good enough. And then Austin Matthews and Tavares come out and they're like, well, we're closer to being great than we are being bad, and things are headed in the right direction. It's like, well, you had a guy in the room who just said no. You had the coach who said no. You have the coach who's saying ask those guys. And now we're hearing Brad Treliving is effectively backing Craig Berube and saying we're not going to move off him, or they're unwilling to move off of him. It feels like there's a lot of finger pointing at those guys and just saying, this is who it is. It's your fault and you better figure it out.
Well, I mean, that's been the issue for the last little while, right? Again, I go back to all the voices chirping loud about we need a new one. Sheldon Keefe isn't the guy. He can't lead this group. They're not. It's not resonating. And then you bring in Berube. And last season seemed a lot better overall. And what the hell changed now? It's not just exclusively Mitch not being in the lineup on the roster. So you have to look at those other pieces. What Tree did in the last couple of years, he talked about bringing the intangibles to the roster. And he's done some of that. And I think the bottom 6 overall is a lot better, performance-wise, overall.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially after Joshua was scratched for a couple games or sat in the press box, and then he woke up. and got going. But it's your main guys. You're going to ride or die with these guys, and right now you're dying. And I don't know how much longer that can really go. Look, one guy whose name I was very curious about for a while was Morgan Riley. Has been Morgan Riley. And at the end of last season, when they had the little powwow, I think there was some discussion, or at least in some form, it was brought up about his no movement clause. And, what I was told was, nope, I want to stick it out. I'm going to be better, have a full off season. And they praised his performance in preseason based on what he did in the summer. He was here more, he was training, he was getting ready, and it just hasn't been good enough. And OEL's a hell of a player. He's a great guy. He shouldn't be your best defenseman. He has been, hands down, this season. He shouldn't be. It should be Morgan Riley. Morgan Riley's not there, anywhere near it. I'm very, very curious if they try to do some kind of shakeup here, if they go in that direction and have that conversation with him again about moving his or waiving his no move. I don't think it's there yet, but I've got to imagine that that's something that Brad Treliving is in the back of his mind or thought about, because moving Nylander doesn't really add up. You're not moving John Tavares, you're not moving Nyes, and you're not moving Austin right now. What are you doing? What else can you do? I think you got to look at moving Mo.
How far off do you think we are from, noise coming out that the Leafs are open for business and that they're open to talking about anybody?
Oh, they don't want to be there.
No? Well, so
No.
so we're just going to sit here and take loss after loss? Like, I was laughing earlier on, like the broadcast yesterday, talking about lessons and building upon another loss. Like, am I being punked right now, Dave?
Look, I get it. Overall, at least in the first 45 minutes of the game, they were better. They played better.
Sure.
It's also the Dallas Stars. Like, they're one of the best teams in the league. They're the second best team in the league. But, it was nice to see that. But then just everything fell out from under them as the game moved along, which we've seen a number of times, this season. There's no clear-cut answer, and I don't think there's only one answer. Like, there's not one solution. You guys talked about right before Cowan coming out of the lineup. I mean, I get it. Where are you playing him? I get why you want him in there, but if everything that's circling around the league is accurate, Michelli's available, Domi's available. You got to at least show everybody what they can do. You can't have him sitting in the press box entirely. So I get it from that side of things as well. This is a tough situation to be in when you're trying to find solutions and you're also trying to make moves that almost go hand in hand in terms of trying to find solutions in that respect. And the original solutions is on the ice with the guys that you've got, and then trying to see if Tree can bring in some outside help to fix this. They've got some cap space, not a lot to play with. They've got a little bit of wiggle room. If they do anything big, they're going to have to move bodies out. And I know Tree's been having these conversations, not just on the back end trying to find a puck mover, but since the summer has been looking for somebody up front. We've touched on this earlier on in the season too. It's just nobody's throwing him a bone, and they're going to have to get creative in how they pull this off. Again, if just everything completely, falls out and they lose another 2, 3, 4 in a row, Tree may not have a choice. It's just not one that he wants to make.
Yeah, I just don't know how you continue to go through what we're seeing right now and thinking that something doesn't have to change. I mean, I get that he's looking at the roster, but there's very clearly a divide between players and coach right now, and the coach is obviously the easier one and maybe just doesn't want to take the easy way out, but it seems like a logical next step to start to kind of figure things out going forward. But Dave, if you start to look down the lineup and think, okay, I have to make up for mistakes that were made in the summer, or players that I brought in here that we shouldn't have anymore, or I needed to bring in guys that I never got, who is that, and what does that even start to look like? I know you brought up Domi and Michelli, but what the hell's a return for Max Domi or Matthias Michelli right now? Because you're not getting back some type of player that jumps into your lineup today and puts you over the edge, in my opinion. I don't think that that's the kind of trade that's out there for those kinds of guys. And then I also look on the flip side. If you're trying to acquire a player right now, let's say it's a guy who's going to actually positively impact your team, say Alex Tuck, say Rasmus Andersson, Nazem Kadri. Those are the big names who seem to be available right now or would at least make an impact on your team. What the hell does that even take to get those guys, Dave? Because it seems like it's a huge package to go and get, and I get the opinion that every GM who's going to pick up that phone is going to be like, I know you're dealing from a position of weakness, Brad. Like, that deal that you think it's going to be, it's actually a little bit more. So do you want to work with us? Do you want to make that trade? And at what point is it just not worth it anymore for these guys? Because we talk about the whole issue that it's always come back to. Is the core the right set of guys right now? Are you just throwing Band-Aids on this issue and just trying to see if something works? Like, that's where I don't get. Like, what's the trade?
Yeah.
What happens? What are you even getting back?
Right. Well, first of all, with respect to Michelli and Domi, that's a matter of moving out money, because you're going to have to move out money in order to do something impactful. So it's not them trying to move those guys and collect assets per se. It's more so they need to add in those departments, top six specifically. But how do you make the money work? Well, those are the guys that are eventually going to have to be moved in order to make that money work if you're making an impact type deal. And then you got to work around what those assets are. So draft picks, you don't have a first round pick for a couple of years. The cupboard's not full. You don't have a lot of top tier prospects. So you're going to have to move out the ones that you do have. So is it a Ben Danford? Is it, I know they don't want to move Cowan. Is it the Finnish kid? I always forget his name. They got another one that's pretty good. Like those kinds of players that they're going to have to combo in order to make some types of additions immediately. And if you want those types of solutions, you have to be prepared for giving up, in the grand scheme, extra to do it, while also simultaneously trying to move out a Michelli or a Domi or a Carlo or whoever in order to make the dollars make sense. It's a tough in-season scenario for Treliving to navigate because he just doesn't have the cap space. In the summer he will, but right now he doesn't, and makes things that much more difficult for a team that's right up against it, that's trying to make those types of moves.
Dave, I want to circle back on Pete DeBoer. Do you have any sense of what this guy's thinking? Because I think it's one thing to talk about Pete DeBoer potentially taking over for Craig Berube, but does he even want Toronto? Like Zach and I talked about earlier on, like the prospects of a couple different teams, namely Winnipeg, maybe LA that you're close to, that could be contemplating a coaching change as well. So do you have any idea what DeBoer is thinking right now?
Yeah, sidebar, LA's not thinking of a coaching change. So I know that gets hyped up a lot, and the LA fans just can't stand Jim Hiller for whatever reason, but he's not getting fired anytime soon. With respect to DeBoer, what I was told was he's comfortable right now, and he's still getting paid by Dallas for the rest of the season.
Nice.
And he's focused on Canada. So yeah, he's chilling. So he's in good position. But what I was told was if he does consider joining an NHL club, it's a team that's right there. It's a team that you guys touched on it a little bit earlier. He's the finishing piece. He's the one that's going to put you over the edge by bringing him in order to get to a cup final or to win the whole thing. That's the type of team that he would consider going to and joining. From what I've been told, is a team that's right there, and they need that finishing piece to kind of lead them along the way. That's not here. So I'd be a little bit surprised unless they're throwing, $5, $6, $7, $8 million his way per season. I would be a little bit surprised if he would consider this based on what I'd heard a couple of weeks ago about his scenario.
Dave, do you get the sense at all that there would be any willingness from the manager that's there right now, or even upper management here with MLSE and the Toronto Maple Leafs, to head down the route of a, maybe let's not say rebuild, but retool and copy what Boston did last year?
No, not particularly. Because if you're going down that road, you're still moving the pieces we just touched on. You're still going to try to move Domi. You're still going to try to move Michelli. And then, okay, maybe you look at Waugh, Joshua, OEL, and those kinds of things. But it's the bigger type of guy, because it's a combo of trying to shift the core four mindset, that core mindset, but also trying to free up dollars in order to make other type of moves. And I think Morgan Riley, and I keep going back to him and his dollars. I think they would be better served right now elsewhere. I would rather, if I'm in that position, I would rather look and allocate 7+ to somebody else that can roll in the top 6, because just what he's brought on this season on the back end, I think you can kind of supplement that if you're having more of an outburst offensively consistently with this group. Now, again, he's got a full no move. He's indicated in the past he has no interest in waiving it, and that may still be the case. But just looking at things on the surface, that's something that I think I personally would do, and I think that there's been some type of consideration to go in that direction. But I don't know if they've broached that subject. So looking at this team, unless, like, if you're going to do that, you're tearing it down. Then you're trading Willie and you're trading this guy and that guy and this guy. And I don't see it. I don't see it happening right now. You still want to find the right pieces that insulate these guys. And I think you have to go in that direction to try to find it rather than move them out. Because then if you're doing that, you have to tear it to the studs. And I don't know if that's even a thought at this point for this group, and it's management brass and MLSE brass.
Dave, last question before we let you go. Where does Brad Treliving fit in all this? Like, we've been talking for the better part of the last couple of weeks. For me, I think, above Tree, they got to make a decision who their GM is, because if this continues to go south, you got to start moving pieces, and you want a guy moving pieces who's probably trying to save his job, if you catch my drift.
I think there's enough. I think that's premature as well. I think there's enough confidence to let him kind of fix this, because, again, he's addressed certain areas of this club that I thought have been successful. The bottom 6 has been a lot better. Scott Lawton's been great since being healthy. He's been solid. I know they jumbled the lineup a little bit yesterday, but Joshua Roy and McMahon were working for a good stretch. You want to kind of keep that going. I think, again, the bottom 6 is good. They have some sound pieces on the blue line. It's just mobility and consistent scoring threats are overall what's plaguing this group. And yeah, systematically, I think it's flawed, but I think the system caters to what Chief has there. And you have to compensate. First of all, you have to play with the cards you're dealt, and then you got to try to compensate as best you can to adjust your system to complement what you've got in order to try to win. And if they don't have enough offensive weapons, then you have to try to modify your game as best you can so that you can win in some fashion. Clearly, it's not working. Roster construction is a big issue, and Brad Treliving will be the first to admit that that's on him, and he understands that, which is why he's been searching for the last several weeks to try to find some outside help. But clearly, it's going to take longer in order for him to do it. I fully expect him to make a move or two, at some point this season that's relatively impactful. I don't have a clear-cut idea as to when that is, but I do know he'd love to have done something by now. It hasn't presented itself.
This team sucks, Dave. Thank you for your time today. Merry Christmas. We'll talk soon, okay?
Merry Christmas later, guys.
Thanks, Dave. Merry
Bye.
Christmas.
I don't know what else to say, okay? So they're not going to trade. No, let me just clear this up. So they're not going to fire their coach. They're not going to fire their GM. Mm-hmm. They can't trade anybody. Everybody's got no trade clauses. So I'm subjected to watching this shit for 47 more games is what people are trying to tell me.
Yeah, and like I take what Dave's saying pretty seriously, and like I know, man. Like it's like hearing him say it makes me sick in a way where he's like, well, they just like look at the big boys and like it's like they got to get going, and like they're gonna trade like Max Domi and Matias Michelli to like open up money, and it's like, fuck. Dave's not saying that because that's what he thinks they should do. You know, like
Yeah.
Dave's telling us what he believes is going on with the organization. And for that to be the mindset is just like, we're basically Peter Horachecking the team unintentionally.
Yeah.
Like the players don't want to play this way. The coach doesn't. I'm almost at the point where it's like I'm surprised Craig Berube is not willing to just like quit. I almost wonder if he's just like I can't quit because I still want to get paid the money. So like I'm just gonna scratch Easton Cowan and we'll just keep losing and I'm just gonna call them out because maybe you'll just have to fire me and I'll get paid the money and we'll get out of here. I say that tongue in cheek. It's just like how is there no change? How is there no thought that something needs to change other than being like, well, I brought in some bad pieces and we need to change things with like the guys that I brought in? That's not the answer, in my opinion. It's not. Like I look at Dakota Joshua, I look at Nick Waugh, I actually like what they bring. I like Scott Lawton. I don't mind Steven Lorenz. I don't know, man. This is like a big change, not tinker. And it's infuriating to think that they're just like, answers in the room. Answers in the room. You know who else was saying answers in the room? Kevin Adams and Terry Pagula and the Buffalo Sabres last year.
Oh, God.
Worked well for them. Worked well for them.
Yeah. Again, I'm at a loss for words. The cherry on top is that you still got to pay $4,000 a ticket to watch this shit. And honestly, that's the one thing that's wearing away at me the most, Zach, is that it almost feels like I'm like being held hostage to watch these games. Like the worst part for me is they're not even fun to watch this team. Like I'd rather they lose 6-5 than this bullshit 3-1 hockey. Like if it's not going to work, it's not going to work. So I don't want to watch it. You know what I mean? Like the whole 9-7 the shots with 8 minutes left in the second period. Like it's so boring to watch. And I'm sitting there on my couch on a nightly basis, like there's another dump in and the guy's too slow to go and get it. And there's no forecheck and there's no after the whistle scrum. And it's like a pre-scheduled tweet, man. Like that's how I feel about watching Leafs games right now.
It's lifeless. It's lifeless. Like I want to be careful going down the path of saying like you want to see 6-5 and stuff because there's a lot of people who are going to say, well, that was Kyle Dubas and Sheldon Keefe hockey. And that's why I push back because it worked in the regular season, but it didn't work in the playoffs. And that's why
this team ain't getting the playoffs, so at least entertain me. Zach.
I know, but it's more like it's the lifelessness of these guys where they don't seem to have an interest in being out there. That's what's frustrating to me. I'm happy to watch 2-1 hockey, 3-2 hockey, 1-0 hockey if you're playing with intensity and battling and not giving up on plays and scrumming after the whistles. They just don't. They don't want to. They don't like it. They don't have an interest in doing it. Like you and I might as well. Maybe we should. I don't know if you want to do this, so I don't want to throw this at you, but I was thinking about doing a watch along for tomorrow's game against the Penguins. Oh. It would effectively be like sitting strapped to a chair with your eyes being peeled open to have. You know what?
Let's fucking do it. Let's do it, Zach. Let's do it. Let's do a watch along tomorrow. You want to do it?
Okay, we can do it at my place. We'll do it here. We'll get Vic over if Vic's around, and we can do a watch along. We'll talk about the game, wrap it up after, and just talk about what we see because the post game will be the same shit anyways. So we'll talk about it during the game. Maybe we'll do that.
Yeah. I don't know. I was thinking more of me sitting here, you sitting there, and just doing this while we watch a hockey game. But whatever works for you. If you want me to come by, if you direly need me to come by and just hang out at your place, I like your roommate's good dude. So maybe we can do that.
We'll figure it out. We'll talk.
Yes, dire straits in this market. And, the thing that gets me too is like, so Craig Berube comes in and like, there's this level of excitement here with us, at least. Like they're going to play big boy hockey and put you through a wall. And they're not even hitting anymore, man. There's no jam. There's no like even any potential where somebody's going to drop their gloves. Like they're going through the motions and then they zoom to the bench and guys are looking anywhere but the coach. Like it just really feels like this team and organization are in one right now from so many different directions and avenues, from like the team on the ice to being unable to make any trades off of the ice. Like I have gotten to a very dark area where I'm like, this is going to be like a decade long of losing. Like I don't even know how you strip this team down. Like I don't. And I I still, for the life of me, can't comprehend how you go to Game 7 against the Florida Panthers in the second round with effectively the same roster. Okay, Mitch is gone, Pacioretty. But, like, you bring in some guys who have won before and have done their thing before, and it's just the lack of chemistry. I haven't seen that in pro sports in a long, long time, where it just seems like a bunch of individuals and no team aspect whatsoever.
You know, this is something that Elliot Friedman said the other day, and I thought about it a lot more because one part of what he said was really interesting that I don't think we've really talked about much here, and it's a fair point. He pointed out Game 7 and the loss to the Panthers last year and kind of also tied in Game 5 and what happened there, but the point that he made was that he wondered if after Game 7 last year and that loss against Florida, they lost faith in the coach first, which I would say probably makes sense, but given what we've seen, I wouldn't necessarily understand it getting that far. But the other part that he said was he wondered if they lost faith and belief in each other and the guys in the room. And I think that that holds a lot more weight, where it's kind of just a comment kind of thrown in there a little bit, but seems to make a lot of sense. I wonder if walking away from that, there are guys in that room. You can't point at Joshua and Michelli and Waugh because they weren't here, but you wonder if there's an element of like Carlo and OEL and Tanev and, name your other guys who were Lawton, who were brought in, who look around and they go, what the fuck is this? Why does Austin Matthews and William Nylander and Mitch Marner cower when the big moment happens? Why do they say, fuck it, we're out of here, and then don't take accountability in the media after the fact when things go awry? And I'm not saying that they did that, but it started making me think when I read the comments that Elliot made, where it's just, wonder if they looked around and they said, what the fuck is this? Like, why do these guys do that? And, like, the belief in the big boys started to drop. Maybe the big boys' belief in each other starts to drop, their belief in the coach drops, and then it just becomes this point where it's like, they don't, like, this is going to be the weird way to put this, but they don't love each other. And Rosie kind of said that the other day.
I agree.
I get the opinion that the Florida Panthers love each other. The Colorado Avalanche love each other. The Dallas Stars love each other. Like, they will go to war for each other. The Toronto Maple Leafs won't. I think they like each other. I think they are friends off the ice. But when it comes to competitors and hockey players and what it means to win, I don't think that they love each other. And I wonder if that starts last year, where they look around and go, I don't believe in you, man. And I wonder if other players that have been here have said that too. I wonder if that was a factor for Ryan O'Reilly or Joel Edmondson or Nola Chari. Go down the list. I wonder if they looked at these players and just went, they're awesome players, but it's not going to happen. You can't rely on those guys.
I got to track down Caden Primo. I need somebody with a recency to this team. Sammy Blais, who got an apple for Montreal last night, got called up. Like, here we go. But you're right. I think dysfunction is brewing. I think I see in sort of the body language of these guys, like, more is just brewing than this team losing hockey games, if you catch my drift. Because, again, the chemistry has felt off from day one with this hockey club. We got a bunch of super chats to wrap here. Philip, thank you so much for this super chat. An elite player protest is happening. Nylander was at the top of the league before Stolarz and Berube criticized him. And this guy's anti-Berube, anti-Savard. Appreciate that. Phil, Michael writes in, fire Tree before it's too late. His incorrect decision to keep coach now is only the appetizer. His decisions to keep coach until it's complete become rubbish. Prove us they need a new GM. A little bit of a grammatical issue there. It's okay, Michael. We love you. Michael writes in again. This should be good. Comments are not a thing with Michael and his verbiage, but I respect David inside knowledge. However, what he's saying is true. No coaching change. Tree continues his path. The Leafs will be so fucked. Appreciate that. And then lastly, Kilo sending this channel lots of love and hugs from NYC. Really, really appreciate that. And I think I'm missing one from our guy, Jose.
Kibo.
Got to call you out again.
Wait. Sorry. Well, who sent that? No, that fucker came last night to the show and said, sending this channel hate from New York City. And I spent about 3 minutes just dropping my nuts on the forehead of New York City. So fuck that guy. Thanks for the super chat, but you're a scumbag. You fucking two-faced son of a bitch.
Oh, nice.
Anyways,
okay, great.
continue.
And we'll leave with this. Jose, got to give you some love, man. Send us $100. Thank you so much. Hope after Christmas the Leafs turn it around. My guy Jose is one very optimistic dude because I'm already dreading this watch along. I'll be with my boys tomorrow, but Leafs in Pittsburgh, I'm dreading watching that game tomorrow. Zach,
I'm dreading it too. There's nothing exciting about it.
I don't know if I want to do this watch
Lifeless
along. I'll be honest
4
with you.
p.m. I'm gonna make Vic do it.
Let's do it on this. Let's do it live stream or whatever. We'll watch the game. I'll sit here and watch, and I don't know.
Okay.
We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Figure it
Sure.
out. Okay, let's do that.
I'm down.
It's time now for the last call, brought to you by Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in the game. Use code NATION. That's NATION, N-A-T-I-O-N. Must be 19 or older, Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, visit ConnexOntario.ca. Simple play for me tonight. Philadelphia, Vancouver. I know the Canucks have been on fire, but I love the Rick Tocchet revenge look, so I'm going to play the Flyers money line in that game.
I'm gonna go to tomorrow. Do you know what I'm gonna do?
What?
You know what I'm gonna do? I think I might parlay. I'll figure that out tomorrow when we see what some of the numbers are, but I'll just throw the idea out there. I might be looking at some type of parlay here with like a Crosby goal, Penguins over 3.5, Penguins minus 1.5. And just kind of maybe approach it that way. I think this team is cooked. I think they don't give a fuck. I think they know Christmas is coming. It's a 4 p.m. game. We want to talk about a team that doesn't start on time when they play at 7 o'clock. They might not show up until like they do the post-game interviews. That might be when they're like, oh, I thought the game was supposed to start now. So this might be a full-blown run them out of their building. Fans leave early, jerseys on the ice. There's going to be kids crying. It's going to be a mess tomorrow, I think. I don't know how this goes in a positive
Spike
way.
in the chat makes a really good call here. How about a Dewar anytime goal? Connor Dewar. I think it's his first game back in Toronto.
I'm in.
so
Connor
into.
Dewar, Sidney Crosby, Penguins minus 1.5, Penguins
Brazeau.
team total over. Parlay. Brazeau, anytime goal. Penguins minus 3.5. I'm going to be a billionaire for Christmas this year. That's my Christmas gift to myself.
Yes, I like that call. I will just add, because there's been so much negativity. How about that least PK, Zach? Producer Vic's been very quiet on the Fire Lalonde train the last month here because that fucking PK is cooking. So shout out to Newsy, who's been on the show multiple times, an absolute stud of a human being.
Yeah.
All right, it's going to do it.
It's good.
Great stuff today.
What do you want, man? Moral victory?
Yeah, that's how I wanted to wrap. I wanted to be moral victory guy. That PK is... And a Robertson scored yesterday. It's great to see, but it was the one on Dallas, not Nick. I don't think Nick Robertson has scored since I did that one-on-one with him a month and a half ago. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, you killed the man.
I don't.
I'm just glad OEL is still like playing well.
He is also slumping.
Yeah, the points wise, but he's at least playing well. A moral victory for an individual player, I'm willing to do. He's at least playing well still. He just doesn't have the points the same way he did at the beginning, but. You might have. There is an Alberga jinx that's taking place.
Yeah,
right
something's. Yeah, it's my fault. This team sucks. Anyways, thank you to Dave Pagnotta for dropping by the show today. The Leafs Nation After Dark with Zack Phillips tomorrow. Over under on 3.5 hour show. It's the last one before Christmas. I know Zach's got plans after the show, so maybe it doesn't run as long. So looking forward to that. Anything good coming up on the sheet today? I'm sure Merrick's going to troll the Leafs and talk about Dubas a bit, right?
Pierre Maguire's on today.
Nice.
So Pierre Maguire will stop by. I love having Pierre on the show. Good analysis, good insight across the league. I'm sure he'll have some thoughts on what's going on with the Maple Leafs. The last time we heard from him, he still kind of believed in the guys that were there and what we were seeing. So we'll be interesting to hear what he's got to say today. But Pierre Maguire on the sheet, 1 o'clock Eastern on Daily Faceoff.
Interesting, because I asked Pierre to come on this show today, and he was unavailable. So, interesting stuff. All right, we'll leave it at that. Thank you to Dave Pagnotta at the Leafs Nation 401. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Leafs Morning Take, wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. Don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. You're going to find a lot of positivity on there. And the same going for Toronto. Imagine releasing a book this time of year about pretty much the greatness of the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs, Austin Matthews. Well, that's exactly what Kevin McGran of the Toronto Star did about a month and a half ago. Bad timing for him. Anyways, Kev's going to drop on tomorrow. He's an amazing dude, great dude. And we're going to talk about that book, promote it a bit, maybe a bit of a stocking stuffer ahead of Christmas, and also look ahead to this game against Pittsburgh. So, Zach, great stuff, and we'll talk later, buddy.
Thanks for having me. This was felt good to get this off my chest here today. It'll be so fun to watch tomorrow's game against Pittsburgh. It's a therapy session without billing, folks. Congratulations. Thank you to producer Vic. Thank you to Zack Phillips. Rosie back in the mix tomorrow. I'm Nick Alberga. Take care, everybody. Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews. We got clips. We got epic rants by Jay Rosa. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.